Oh, I lost you, Darrell.
Something?
I lost your camera. Darrell, where are you?
Oh boy.
Darrell, where are you? You left me. Oh, you're back. Okay. Wait.
I was thinking I didn't really want to be able to see myself during the interview because it's distracting.
Okay,
but
okay.
I guess I'll just have to not look.
Cover it with the hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello everyone, Marco Montemagno here, founder of Tech Alchemist, and today I have an absolutely great guest, and I tell you why I'm so happy about. I have here with me Darrell Benatar, CEO and co-founder of usertesting.com. Hello Darrell, how are you going?
Hi Marco.
Yeah, we had some efforts to create and to set up everything. I was talking with Darrell before about how still is difficult to record video interviews. So I hope you, Darrell, will create or develop some kind of platform in the near future. And today I want to talk about usability and testing, and how it's important to test your website or your website on mobile or your mobile app before to go online. And in this way you can have a lot of tips. And I want to start immediately with this one. I've been using user testing for the Tech Alchemist website, so I tried and tested on my skin. And one funny thing that I immediately understood is that on 10 people testing, now I will ask you to explain a little bit usertesting.com how it works, but on 10 people that I tried, all 10 people couldn't pronounce my surname. So everyone, they couldn't say Montemagno, and everyone say Montemagno, Magno, like, impossible. And then I had the genius idea of create on SoundCloud how to pronounce my surname with my voice. So when you go there, you don't know how to pronounce, good. So click here, and it was good. All right, so I think usertesting.com is a really great service. We are not affiliated, so it's just that I tested it and I say, good, it works and everyone should use it, in my opinion. Can you explain us in 20 seconds what usertesting.com does for the users?
Yeah. The basic service is we've created a large panel of users who will record their screen and their voice while they use your website. So you can come to usertesting.com and say you have a travel website. You can fill out a form saying, I want to see 10 people who are planning a vacation in the next 6 months, and I want them to use my website to try and book a vacation in San Francisco. And within minutes, members of our panel are recording their screen and their voice while they use that website. And they'll be saying things like, well, I would type San Francisco in the search box. And in about an hour, you get back a video where you see the user's screen, you hear them speaking their thoughts, and you see their mouse movements and their keystrokes, and you can start to understand where users are getting stuck on your website.
Right. I'll show Darrell. I will insert in the video a sample of this, because for me it was very powerful.
Okay, I'm at Petco's homepage, and the first task is to find the store closest to me. So I'm looking for some sort of store link. Okay, I'll click on Store Locator. All right. Okay, so I can enter either my city and state or zip code. I usually use my zip because it's faster to type, so I'll put that in. And click Find. Let's see. Wow, there are tons of stores. I can't really tell which one is closest. That's not too helpful. I don't know, maybe it would have been better if the default view was zoomed in closer and showed fewer stores. Alright, I can hover over these things for details. I guess all these red and blue things are all Petco logos, but maybe something smaller would have been better.
When I came on usertesting.com the first time and I saw a video where the video basically show the reaction and the kind of video that you were expecting from the users, And I said, gosh, you know, in the beginning I was a little bit scary and afraid because it was very rough, like straight and not brutal, but I mean I got reaction, excellent feedbacks, by the way, excellent feedbacks. I don't know how can you get so high quality feedback, but in beginning I was, you know, you listen to a person while he's watching your website and giving you feedback like, oh gosh, this Italian is bald, you know. So, but it's really excellent. How can you have this quality of feedbacks? How do you select the users?
Well, first of all, you know, these are just average people. But to become a member of our panel, and we have around 10,000 people on our panel.
Wow.
To be on our panel, the user actually does a sample video, and we check to see if they're able to speak their thoughts continuously and follow instructions. And then once they're in our panel, when our clients run tests with us, they can give a 1 to 5 star rating on how helpful that tester was. So then we have an algorithm that when we distribute the jobs, we give a little bit of priority to those users, those testers that tend to be more verbal and have helpful things that they say.
Okay.
But they're not at all experts in any way. They're really just average people who are good at talking while they're doing something.
Excellent. Another question. How can you be so fast? Because what really impressed me from usertesting.com is that I was just asking for a test, and then in, I don't know, 30 seconds, I could see people getting the job and started to... So how can you be so fast?
Yeah, well, we just, we have, you know, thousands and thousands of people that are signed up to do this, and there are a lot of people that are just at home, you know, during the day playing virtual games or on social networks, and they get a ping from us that this is available, and they grab it. And so even though we distribute your request for a person to smallish groups, within that group it's first come, first serve. So people tend to be, you know, pretty aggressive in grabbing tests, because if they don't get it, they won't. So the economics of this are that you pay $39 per participant, you know, so in your case you had 10 participants, so that's $390. $10 of each $39 goes to the actual participant.
Okay.
And they're just doing it for about 20 minutes.
Right.
So for a lot of people, that's a very attractive financial offer. But I think maybe even more importantly, people find it, they really get the psychic benefit of you know, of saying what they think and knowing that their opinion matters to somebody. One of the features we have that you might not have experienced is after the test, you have the ability to ask the user follow-up questions through our website. It's like a chat session. So sometimes our clients use that as a place to compliment or thank the tester for their feedback.
Okay.
And that kind of thank you, psychic reward, is really powerful and valuable to our panelists.
Absolutely. So to recap for people watching this video, usertesting.com, $39 and you get a test from one person. And now I want to go with you deeper on the kind of demographic that you can have on the tester. Yes. Anyway, you can have one test from one person, and you will get a video where while the person is testing your website, you create all the questions that you want him to answer. So I don't know, have a look at the website for 5 seconds and then tell me what's your feedback. And then you also get the answers to all the questions, so you can read also the additional notes, and then you can also follow back. About the demographics, I mean, I've been testing male, females. I saw panels from US, UK and Canada, if I remember well. So it's for English websites, let's say.
Yeah.
Only, okay. And
right now, yes.
Yeah. And what kind of demographic you can offer to users? What's your focus on it?
Well, there's two things here. There's the demographics, which you mentioned some of, age, gender, income, experience on the web, what country they're from, if they participate in particular social networks, if they play certain types of games. And then you can also apply a screener to the selection process. And that is a questionnaire that the user answers some questions, and if they answer the way you intend, they are able to do the test. Otherwise, they don't. So, for example, let's say you just wanted people who were users of Orange or AT&T telephone networks. You could ask, what telephone network do you use? And you could list all the competitors, and only the ones that selected Orange and AT&T would get through.
Okay.
So that's called a screener.
Excellent.
So you can apply the screener. Now, we have our basic retail offering, which is what you saw on our website, and we have an enterprise offering, which is a little bit more expensive, bigger commitment, and you get more features with that. So you get to use a more extensive screener, you get to get access to a larger pool of testers, and so that's one of the areas that is an advantage to signing up with our enterprise program.
That's great. I want to give you a few examples more to make people understand exactly what this kind of service is giving. Obviously, I mean, this is the topic of usability, in my opinion, and I think for how many years I've been doing stuff online and so less testing, you know, because maybe you think, okay, we'll see, you know, we just go out, get the feedback from the users, and that's it. But in this way you can avoid so many mistakes before. And I mean, I was thinking about my experience, and I've been testing, is it better a photo or a video on the home page? What is better? I don't know. The bio, is a good bio, is a bad bio? Do you understand what is the website is about? Yes or no?
Right.
Is it, you know, so many things that you can test, and in this way it helps to improve the website, the product, or the service.
I'd like to comment on that, because people are much more familiar with doing A/B testing using their analytics packages, and what we find is that usability testing is very complementary to A/B testing. And in this way, when you want to change something on your website to see if it increases your conversion rate, you run an A/B test. One of the questions you have is, what should I test?
Right.
And oftentimes I think people are kind of guessing at things that they think might help. And in general, 80% of the time when you run an A/B test, A wins. The new idea fails. But when you use our service, you do usability testing on your website, you find areas that appear to be really problematic, and you can run tests to see if changes to those areas increase your conversion rate. So for example, on your video versus photo, it might be that if you ran an A/B test, the photo wins.
Right.
But it could be just that people don't understand the video, or they find the first 20 seconds of the video is not that helpful, so they don't watch the whole thing. So if you ran usability tests on the video, you might find, oh, people don't understand this part of what I'm trying to communicate here. And fixing the video might be something that increases your conversion rate. You can test that using analytics.
Yeah, just to recap about A/B testing for people who are not so inside A/B testing, is a way of testing, I don't know, a title. I try to write a title with a different word or a different color, so I test two versions, and I come up in my mind services like Optimizely or this kind of tools that they just let you run this kind of test. All right.
Right. The core thing there is half the people see one version and half the people see the other version, and you compare what the conversion rates are for those two.
Perfect. How about mobile, Darrell? I've been testing it on a website. I didn't try the mobile version. Do you allow to test your website on mobile and to test a mobile app, or only a website? Which is the experience of your website on a mobile device?
Yeah. Now, you can test anything on a mobile device, and I'd like to quickly explain how we do that so your listeners understand. What we've done is we've sent out to hundreds of our testers. I think we're around getting close to 1,000 people who have our webcam on a stand that we've sent them.
Okay.
And so they connect that to their computer, and for the test, they hold their mobile device underneath the camera, and they use their fingers like they normally would, and the video feed for that camera is going onto the computer screen for the user and getting recorded just like our normal service works, and that video gets uploaded and everything's the same.
Okay.
So
excuse me, Darrell, excuse me to interrupt you. So you send to 1,000 people more or less a webcam on a stand that they use, and the webcam is just connected with their laptop, and they can record everything that is under their webcam.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, so what you get back is a video where you see the person's hand holding the device, and you see their fingers doing gestures on the device. And so that means, it doesn't matter what platform or whether you're testing an app or a mobile website. It can be done on an iPad or a tablet, any other tablet.
All right.
It kind of covers all the bases. And we find that it's really valuable to be able to see the actual person's hand in the physical phone. I mean, not only do you get the gestures, but you have the gyro, so if they're playing a game, you can see them tipping the phone. It has GPS, so you can tell, if the application uses GPS, you can see that. And you get feedback like the person's playing a game, for example, but it's designed such that their fingers are too large relative to the items on the phone, and they can't get it to work. So it's important, I think, to be able to see their hands and see real usage. Amazing.
And can you ask those users also, I don't know, you want to test only on Android, you want to test only on iPad, I don't know.
Right.
You can do it.
Yeah, when you go through the process of setting up the test, you can specify which device you want it to be tested.
Excellent. And how do they record their audio? Through the webcam?
Yeah.
Mainly.
The webcam has a built-in microphone.
All right, excellent. Yeah, so in this way you solve the problem to record the screen from inside. That is always that you really don't get, I think, the experience of the users. So I think this is super cool. All right. I think usertesting.com also got 3 million funding in September. Possible?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So you growing, and what's your next plan for the company?
It's mainly just growing all the offerings that we currently have. We are having good success selling our offering into larger companies. I mean, when we started the business, we were thinking, usability testing is something that's very expensive and only the biggest companies can afford to do it. So we're going to create something really simple and fast, inexpensive, so everybody can do this kind of testing. And then later on, we started to realize a lot of large companies were using our service, and we started to provide them with additional features and services that they wanted. And we've had good success selling to those companies. So we are continuing to add more and more services and things that those companies are looking for.
Okay. Another thing that I saw on your blog, on usertesting.com blog, was about an integration with the prototyping tool. And
right.
I thought it was pretty interesting. Prototyping tool are tools like, I don't know, Balsamiq or Just in Mind, I think is the one you're integrating. So are tools that help people, companies to create a prototype, as the name say, and in this way you don't have to code from zero your prototype. You just use this tool, and then if the prototype is good, then you will code it. You create the proper app, and you created an integration. So I thought it was pretty interesting about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's important to point out that this is a tool that is not meant to only be used on a production website. I mean, the famous, words of advice are test early, test often. And so we want to try and make it easier for people to start to test things early in the process. I mean, the reason for that advice, of course, is that the further along you get in the development of your new feature or your website, the harder it is to make changes both technically and psychologically. You become invested in what you've created, and it's scary to find out that all that time you invested, was headed down the wrong path. So you really want to try and test early. And so one of the advantages of testing with our panel is our panel is comfortable with instructions that say, hey, this is not a fully functional website here. This is just a partially functional. I'm trying to understand some things. An example would be, here's a website, only the top level navigation works and nothing else on the page works. That's intended. What I want to know is, the website owner wants to know is, if you were trying to find this particular piece of information on my website, what would you click on in the navigation to get there? And so you can start by just, testing that out and getting that right before you build out the rest of your website.
Right.
So with this latest integration, you can upload still images. You can upload like a PDF file or a JPEG, and you can have people look at 3 different versions of a mock-up of a homepage and have them give you some feedback on that. Or you can work with our partner like Just in Mind, and you can build a functional prototype, which allows you to kind of click around, even though things don't necessarily work, and have our testers try your prototype out and give some early feedback on that.
When usertesting.com is launching new stuff, are you testing on usertesting.com or not?
We do. We use our own service. It's a little bit harder because our existing panel of users are already familiar with our website.
Okay.
So you don't get those fresh eyes, but we are able to test lots of things in our site. But I want to say that usability testing is one great tool for getting feedback, but there are other important ways to solicit feedback from your customers, like giving people an easy way to click on something on your site and give you feedback, like a pop-up surveys. Like we use an exit survey. When you leave the site, we quickly show you a pop-up that says, hey, if you didn't find what you were looking for here, could you tell us why? What happened?
Okay.
So
about this, Darrell, so many years that you are inside this world of usability and testing. So can you say, okay, I don't know, 3 things that absolutely someone running a business online has absolutely to do before launching his website? If you should suggest at least 3 things, 3 kind of tests, or 3 your personal framework to test your stuff online before to launch it, what it would be?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you those 3 things, and I'm going to just briefly say that when you run a test like this, there's kind of a spectrum of feedback that you get. On one end is, can people just, are they able to accomplish fundamental tasks on your site? Can they get through there? The other is persuasion. Is the user are you successfully motivating the user to try and accomplish this task on your website? And so that gets me to the 3 suggestions that I would have. First, it's really valuable to run what we call a 5-second test on your website, to have users look at your site for 5 to 10 seconds, and then look away and try and explain what do they remember, what do they understand the site does. Because there's so many situations where that's really how long you have to motivate a user to move forward. The common situation is they're clicking on a pay-per-click ad on Google,
Yeah.
And they've read the ad and they expect something. And the question is, in their mind, is when they get to that website, they're quickly trying to assess, is this relevant? Does this match what I was expecting? And if it doesn't, they leave, and you've wasted your click. So we make it really easy on usertesting.com. When you run a test with our service, we have templates set up so you can select pre-created questions and tests for your users. So one of them is that 5 seconds test. And so we'll actually show them your website and then not show them your website we'll show you the website, we'll show the user the website for 5-7 seconds, and then we won't show it, and then we'll give them the question. So that's all kind of set up.
So first tip is 5-second test. For me was very, very useful. I've been changing the website because I understood that was not so clear, the message, and when I did the change, then it got a good impact. All right.
Yeah. And then I would say the second thing I'd recommend is, can a user do the most common important thing on your website easily and successfully? So for a lot of retailers, that is, can they find the product they're looking for, and can they successfully make it through the checkout process? It's really hard to create an easy checkout process, and users can get easily frustrated and leave your website. And so you want to try and simplify your forms so you're not asking them to do anything unnecessarily. You want to just, the fewer fields that there are on a checkout form, the more likely you are to have success. The checkout form is the most likely place that you're going to lose a user. So just testing the basic function. Can they do the basic thing that they're supposed to do on your website? I think a mistake that probably is commonly made is, of course they can check out on my website. I mean, people are doing it all the time. I would have known if it were a problem. But in fact, we all are gotten used to accepting 3% conversion rates with the visitors to our website. So there's 97% of the time something's going wrong, and so there's plenty to learn there. The best websites have 20-25% conversion rates. So it goes to show you it is possible. There's tons of room for improvement.
Okay.
And then I guess the third thing I would say applies to a lot of websites is testing the search on your website. Search is kind of the lifeline for the user. If they get to a website and they're kind of confused, their first instinct is to go to that search box. And delivering, and you want to be delivering very relevant search results, because if a user doesn't see what they're looking for on the first search effort that they make, half of users will leave the site right at that point. And if they try, and if they try again, it keeps going. Half will leave right away if they don't, so you'll lose 3/4 on the first two attempts. So search can often be improved by better handling of unusual characters. Predictive search has become really important these days. And if you don't have the budget to build a really great search system, Google actually offers a free search solution where you can put some JavaScript on your page and it shows a search box, and then you get a page of search results with Google. And that's sometimes a good way to start, because you learn from that what people are searching on and what's really important. And if you build your own search, you start with having some data there.
Right. Predictive search, I just remember to viewers, like the one you find in Google now, Google Instant, or if you go on Quora, you find the kind of search that people, the kind of queries that people are looking for. So this is very interesting.
As you're typing, the search suggests possible things that you might be looking for. You can just click on those things.
Yeah. Are there any specific tools, online tools, that you would recommend to run several tests? I mean, not only usertesting.com, but are there any specific tools that you use or you would recommend? I'm also thinking about how they call the heat map to see where the user is clicking or in this way. Are there any specific tools that you would suggest?
Yeah, there are a number of lightweight tools that are valuable. I could recommend a site called Usability Hub.
Usability Hub?
Yeah, and they've got a number of tools that help you with things like finding out, having a large number of users go to your site and asking them to do something, and then seeing where their first click is. You can get a map showing where all the first clicks were.
Okay.
So, and then there's a tool called Attention Wizard.
Attention Wizard.
And it's kind of interesting because what they've done is they have studied actual heat maps. Heat maps are where you have a large number of users use a website, and you keep track of where their mouse moves. Oh, actually, the true heat map is you have a large number of users that are hooked up with eye tracking devices.
Okay.
So it can tell where their eyes are looking on the page, and that's very, that can be a very valuable tool, but it's it's very kind of expensive, time-consuming thing to do. But it can give you some insights as to where users are focusing on the page. And Attention Wizard has done a detailed analysis of many of these eye tracking heat maps.
Interesting.
And it has built an algorithm to kind of predict, based on the colors and the photos and the position of things on a page, predict what an eye tracking heat map will probably look like for that page.
Wow.
So
amazing.
So you can just upload your home page to attentionwizard.com, and you'll get back a heat map that shows you colors on your home page, indicating where red is where people are most most frequently looking, and then orange, also very popular but not as much, and yellow, and so you get back that kind of information.
Amazing. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Last question, Darrell, and then I'll let you go there. I know you're super busy. What will happen next in usability? Because now, I heard a recent interview from Mark Zuckerberg, and he was only talking about mobile. And Google, for ages now, they only say, mobile first, mobile. So everything looks like it's changing. And iPad and so on. So what will change in the usability world, if any? Or everything will stay the same? Or with all these devices we should think about a totally different way of designing our online presence?
I think our what we're seeing actually already is that website owners are recognizing that their users are interacting with their web presence on multiple devices. So, you may be out shopping and see an item that you're interested in, and you might look it up on Amazon.com. And then when you get back to your office, you might go and research that item a little bit more, and then complete the purchase on Amazon.com. Or you might, so that's one example. So we see that people who are responsible for websites or an online presence are going to need to make sure that the user can move between devices and maintain the same session, and that things are consistent, so that they stop thinking that there's much of a difference between being on their computer or on their mobile device. They can, so moving across screens, is what we see the future of testing. You're going to need to test across all devices.
The trend. Okay, excellent. Darrell, thank you so much. Darrell Benatar, CEO and co-founder of usertesting.com. Have a look, guys, because it's a great website, and also we'll check to the couple of websites that you suggested. Very interesting, and
great.
Thanks so much. Good luck for everything, Darrell.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marco. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.